Hello, preschoolers from Westwood Baptist Church. This is Miss Cynthia. Listen, we have had lessons on Palm Sunday, and that's when Jesus entered into the city of Jerusalem. We had a lesson about the actual crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Now, what I want to tell you, I know it was sad. I know that when I said Good Friday, you wonder, Good Friday, how can it be a Good Friday when Jesus died? Well, listen, there's more to the story. Listen, I have what we call resurrection eggs. They're going to help us go back and retell the story and move forward with the story. I'm telling you, it's going to be good. Here we go. Remember how Jesus told his disciples to go into the city to look for a donkey and her coat. And they did exactly what they were supposed to do. So this is a coat. This is a donkey. Right? So that's going to help us remember the story. Okay? The next thing, this is really sad. This is how they actually got Jesus. One of his men, Judas, actually turned Jesus in. He told them, I'll tell you where he is if you give me some money. And guess what? They did. He sold Jesus for 30 silver coins, 30 coins. And that was a friend of his. That was one of the disciples. Now, the next part of the story is about how Jesus had a special dinner for his disciples. He told them to drink from this cup. This is the blood that I've given to you. Do this in remembrance of me. And it is not actually blood. It's wine. He's telling them to remember him. Do not forget to do this. Do this in remembrance of him. This is something very sacred. It's called taking communion. So that was a special dinner that he had for his disciples. The next part of the story talks about how Jesus takes his disciples into the garden. They go into the garden. He asks them to pray. He goes over to the side to talk to God, and he's talking, and he's really saying, God, do you really want me to do this? Is this what I'm going to have to do? Am I really going to have to die on the cross? And God said, he said, God, if you don't want me to, I won't do it. But God never said that. God wanted him to do that, and he did it. He fulfilled what God had asked him to do. So he goes in to the garden, and he's praying. These are praying hands. He's praying to God and talking to God. They said that Jesus prayed so hard that beads of sweat dropped down like blood. Okay? So much tears, so much sweat. The next part of the story talks about how his friend finally gave him over. They found Jesus. And when they got him, they arrested him. They took a whip and they beat Jesus with it. They beat Jesus with a whip. Let me tell you, they did this because they were afraid that the people would follow Jesus. They were afraid that he was really the Son of God. And of course, we know he was the Son of God. And of course, people were going to follow him. So they were jealous. They didn't want the people to follow Jesus. So they thought if they could kill him and get him out the way, all would be well. So the next thing that happened in the story, Jesus had told his friend Peter, when he had that special dinner for them, he told Peter that he was going to deny him. Now, I know you're probably wondering, Miss Cynthia, what in the world does a rooster have to do with the story of Jesus and Jesus being crucified? Well, let me tell you. Like I said, during their special dinner, Jesus told Peter that he was going to deny him. Peter was Jesus' best friend. He said, Jesus, I'm your buddy, I'm your friend, I'm your BFF. I will not betray you. There's no way I would betray you. He said, well, Peter, yes, you are. You're going to deny me not once, not twice, but 3 times. When the rooster crows, you will deny that you even know me. Peter kept saying that he wouldn't do it. Well, as things went on, Peter got scared and thought that they were going to arrest him, and they may kill him like they killed Jesus, were going to kill Jesus. So he did exactly what Jesus said. He denied him not once, not twice, but 3 times as the rooster crowed. So that's what the rooster has to do with the story of Jesus. The next part of our story talks about how they were picking and marking Jesus. You know how friends, well, they're supposed to be your friends, and they call you names. Well, they told him, they said, well, Jesus, you know what? If you are a king, where's your crown? Oh, never mind. We'll make you one. So they made him a crown out of thorns. They bind it together, wrapped it together, and they placed it on Jesus' head. Now, you know, if you have something sticky like that it's going to hurt. Pointy like that. So they placed it on his head, and Jesus began to immediately bleed. Because they were saying, since you are the king. And they also took a robe, a purple robe, and they put it around him and said, hey, you think you're the king? We're going to bow, and pretend like they were bowing down to him. The next part of the story is nails in the cross. They took nails, of course, heavier than this, and they pounded them into Jesus' hand, into his wrist, and into his feet, and they bound him up on the cross. Okay, so this represents the nails that they put in Jesus' hand. Now, the next part of our story talks about how Jesus has died, and the soldiers want to make sure that he's died. He's already up on the cross, and he's died. He said, before he died, Jesus said, forgive them, Father. Before then, he asked him, he said, Father, Father, why have you abandoned me? Why have you left me? That's the only time Jesus was separated from God, was when he was dying on the cross. And that was so sad. I don't know if you've ever gone somewhere and missed your mom and dad and you wanted to be with them so bad. That's how Jesus was. That's how it felt for him. He was on that cross by himself. But let me tell you, when he was on the cross, he was thinking about you and me and about us, about our sins. He died on that cross for our sins. He took the weight of the world, of all our sins that we were going to do on that cross by dying. So while he was on the cross, they wanted to make sure he was dead. So they took the spear and pierced him in his side. And Jesus began to bleed blood and water. After that, Jesus has died. And there's this man named Joseph. Joseph wanted Jesus to have a special burial. So he was a little bit afraid, but he went to Pilate, the governor, and asked him, I got a tomb, I got a place to bury him. Can I bury him in that tomb? Well, Pilate said yes. So he took Jesus to his tomb, and he wrapped him in linen cloth. He wrapped him up and put him in the tomb. As they're putting him in the tomb, they decide that they're going to make sure no one goes in to steal Jesus' body. So they seal the tomb with a stone. Of course, you know the stone is going to be much, much bigger than this. I'm telling you, it probably weighed the size of a car or something like that. Big stone blocking the doorway of the tomb, so nobody could steal Jesus' body. And then Pilate, the governor, came up with this idea. He said, you know what? I don't know. I think maybe I'm going to put some soldiers there. So he put some special soldiers there to guard the tomb, along with a big stone in front of Jesus' tomb. Well, all of a sudden, there was a crackling, the earth was shaking, and the stone was rolling.